You're not that good looking.
Very good.
We're clean.
All right, guys, we're
Yeah, I
gonna
know
start
she
now.
plowed it all over.
Jim, we're gonna start. Thanks,
What's
Zach.
that?
Welcome everybody, the two people watching from home of today's Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 meeting. This evening we have the minutes from November 12th. Under old business, we have none. New business, we have a formal shoreline zoning application for the Pearlsons at 132 Sunderland Drive. And then we have a formal site plan application for Mac New at 1379 Main Street. And we have some issues we're gonna deal with, dealing with our CLUC, and then we have some findings of facts, and then any other business. So let's start with the minutes. Seems like everybody was here other than Cheryl on this, or did anybody have any, do you have all that stuff over there, Scott? I would sign mine, but I know I'd get yelled at. Thank you.
So we're not.
Glad we know where our place is. Anybody have any
Yep.
issues on the minutes?
Something that I saw, so I make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 12th, 2024 meeting as presented.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Going through, bring it back up. All right, old business, none, new business, formal shoreline zoning application for the Pearlsons, 132 Sunderland Drive, map 14, lot 45H. Stuart, I'm assuming that's yours. That was the packet I saw. Associated with money. So, what you got going?
Another little expansion on camp.
Yep.
Alright, so, yeah, those who don't know me, I'm Stuart Davis with Davis Land Surveying, here on behalf of Jillian and Jonathan Pearlson. Excuse me, I have a property on 32 Sunderland Drive, Poland. And in the site plan we presented is what the existing conditions now and what's being proposed. Property is about 27,208 square feet, 100-foot of frontage on the gravel drive and 122 foot on the shore. Currently consists of 3,275 square feet, which includes all the existing structures, so about 12%. So what they're proposing to do with this property is, a lot of it's in the flood zone, and the current finished floor is at 309, which is what the base flood elevation is. They played around with putting some frost walls under there, flood openings, and all that kind of stuff. And they came back to what they want to do now is we're going to raise the camp up a foot, and they're going to replace and repair most of the piers that are under there now, get it off the ground. So they're going to bring it up to at least 310, excuse me, the finished floor. The existing roof that's on there now is 23.5 feet, a little bit higher than what's allowed, but by raising it up, it's going to go up another foot. That'll get the structure itself out of the flood zone. On the page 2 is a couple pictures of what's there now. Page 3 is the calculations, which, give me a second here, it's been a while since I looked at this, but the expansion, they're allowed 283, based on our calculations of 1,000 square feet or the 30%, they're up to they can do 283, 0.6 square feet. So what they're proposing to do along the side of the house is revamp these new steps and landings, adding this little addition on the side, and that'll still give them 66.7 square feet left out of that 283. Brings your lot impervious area up to 13.7, which is still under 15%. So basically, they're just going to raise this camp up and replace and repair and add some new piers under the camp. The other thing they would like to do is back here in this corner, there's an existing shed, and they wanna replace that. Fix it now. It's like a 6x9, they wanna replace that with a 10x16 at some point. But they don't wanna cut any trees, so they're gonna look this spring when they come up, and somewhere in here where they don't have to cut any trees, they wanna place this 10x16 shed inside the 20-foot side setback. Which at that time, we can present Scott a sketch of where the shed ends up. So they're still allowed within that 66 square feet to accommodate that shed.
Yeah, that was my concern because it was too close to the setbacks and it sounded like they wanted to expand that shed,
Yeah.
which we allow a shed for anything in shoreline zoning, not that size.
Yeah.
But so they're gonna actually put that within the building envelope.
Yeah, they wanna keep the shed in the same area, but they'll move it
They'll
into
move it
20.
inside.
They just wanna find an area where they don't have to cut any trees
Okay.
to fit this thing. So, like I said, at that time, we can present Scott a new plan, a sketch of where the shed ends up. And the other thing is, when they were originally they talked about putting frost walls or something underneath this, they were gonna put a well. The camp was gonna be moved, they were gonna put a well here, but now that that's not gonna happen, I believe somebody over here just put a septic system in. So they're gonna drill a well, so we're gonna have the well driller figure out where he can, because their system is right here, so they're gonna have to figure out where they can put a well. It's gonna have to go over here somewhere. So it's 100 away from his and 100 feet from this thing. So they're gonna determine that, where the well will go,
Okay.
because they can get variances where I can't.
Yep. Okay.
It's not lost, Scott, you can see you have that up there.
This was resume.
So, how much of the foundation we replacing?
There's no foundation there now, it's
Right.
just piers, but they're gonna replace some of them and add some more. Because they're all, it kinda sits on the ground now.
Yeah.
I think when Jared gets under there, he's gonna be surprised. Jared Damon's gonna do the work. This thing's been sitting on the ground for a while.
See the real results there.
Yeah, so,
Looked like it was sinking into the ground.
yeah, the sides are kinda right at the ground level.
Yeah.
If we're replacing more than 50% of those piers, are we not putting in a new foundation?
I guess that's verbiage. I mean, my camp is on piers and posts and pine stumps is that a foundation or?
I have no idea how many is under there. I don't even know if I wanna look under there.
I don't think you can look under there, that goes right to the ground.
I think what Jared's plan is he's gonna cut the floor out. Get in there that way.
So back to your point, Scott. You can
Well, I
mention
mean,
it again.
if it's considered a foundation replacement, then we have to look at it as greatest practical extent, I think.
That window that we kind of developed on there is about the only place they can put this thing.
Looks like it's
I
pretty
mean,
much
we're
close
already
to
at,
that now.
Because,
6 feet off, 7 feet off the line.
record of what's keeping it from going back? It's pretty flat.
Well, this is pretty wet right here, so we can't go this
Well,
way. Their driveway's here, but their septic's right here. This is kind of a low area through here where the driveway is, so this is, where the camp is about the only spot that it can go now, and it's what, 6 feet off the line?
I see it says 1960. There were no rules.
So it couldn't,
Town didn't have any rules then.
1960, yeah, you're
That's
right.
60, yeah.
Yeah.
it couldn't be spun back into the driveway.
You saying turn it?
Well. And again, I don't,
I think the intent with this, because this is a
because
lot of it's in the flood zone, so I think the architect was struggling with the fact when he was trying to put some frost walls and something under there. so leaving it to where he is now, kind of less disturbance, I guess, out of what he was wrestling with too. Not digging a hole, not scarfing up all the ground time.
And I don't know if did you have the conversation with Deb about the height?
Yeah, I heard rumor of that, yes, and I ran that by the client, and he said, I guess he's the one that did it, I wasn't aware of that, but yes, if you do look at the photo for your tax card, it does show there was a flat roof at one time, and now it was non-permitted through the office prior to Scott.
My understanding that they came in and asked, but they were told they didn't need a permit.
What year was that though?
If it was in the years that I think it was, it's probably,
Less than 20.
it was less than 20, yeah.
No,
Yeah, it's a lot less than 20.
I'm pretty sure, I mean, they told me who it was, so, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me
Right.
if that was what they were told. So it's probably a good 4 or 5 feet taller than it was before.
Yeah, I don't know, you can't really tell by the pictures where that separation would have been. It's somewhere above that window, but I don't know. Unless you have some old tax cards,
Well, the tax card you have shows it flat.
or dimensions on it or something, I don't know.
Oh, they won't show height, no.
Oh, yeah, sure,
Yeah.
anything like that.
So, yeah,
We can't fault them for that at this point, but. Do we? I don't know, it just seems like we're looking at lifting this thing. You're gonna have to lift it off the ground. The floor now is at 210, at 309.
yeah, the finished floor itself now, the 309, so we gotta get it up to at least 310.
Well, I think you gotta get a little more than that, because you have to leave some room for, I don't know what you're gonna need to leave for an opening.
That's obviously gonna be up to the contractor, but I think that's why we say at least 310.
Well, I think it's gonna be,
So, if Jerry wants to bring it up to 11, 12,
floodplain standards might dictate how high they need to get that off.
well, it's FEMA, you can be 1/100 of a foot higher than the base flood elevation. It's the state of Maine that's requiring this 1 foot elevation. As far as FEMA's concerned, as long as you're 100 higher than whatever it is, you're good to go, but,
Yeah, but if you got no way to let the flood water through,
you know, but,
you
so,
still have to have flood openings.
yeah, and that's where the architect was wrestling with, so yeah, it's gonna be lift up enough, Scott, that there's gonna be, this water's gonna be able to flow just like it does now, whatever it does now.
And obviously, it's gonna need flood permits for construction.
The piers,
That new construction's gonna require flood permits. From FEMA.
flood permits?
It's all in the floodplain, isn't it?
No, well, it's in a flood zone, it's not in a floodway.
Right.
So you can you can have a structure in a floodway or a floodplain as long as you get it above 310, which
But
is
you
what,
also
or
have to get
above, that's what they're
permits.
gonna do.
You also have to get special permits for,
Is that sitting on pads, Stu, or is that sitting on sonotube?
I assume there
Don't
will,
know.
I don't know, Jim, I've never looked under there. I have no idea what's under there, but there is piers, they say.
Are they gonna set this back from the lake?
They're gonna put it back pretty much in the same spot.
Oh, yeah.
Right
We're
where
gonna
it
pick
sits.
it up a
Oh,
little bit
okay.
outside of that and add on this wing over here.
So how many feet is it from the lake?
Right now, it's, that front little stepway is what, 17 feet, 16 point,
Yeah, 16 or something.
18.7.
18?
So we gotta figure out
18.7 feet from,
if it's considered a new foundation.
Wouldn't that be
we'd have to
considered
try to
in
move
the-
it back to
Wouldn't
another
that be in the,
10 feet, but if it's not, then they can go up.
what's the shoreline zoning, what's the limit on it? I thought you had to be at least 75 to 100 feet from the lake.
This predates any of the zoning, so it is where it is.
No, it's,
If they're doing stuff, if they're picking up, they're redoing things, they're rebuilding, that you have to meet the best practical extent of setback. Obviously, what Stu is saying here is all this wetland over here. Taking this, Scott's basically saying if you're gonna do more than 50% underneath, should you pick it up or rotate it and move it further back? And it's still gonna be outside, I mean, you're still gonna be within inside the 75-foot setback. But that's moving it back to the best practical extent.
Yeah, the whole driveway area, if you look at the contour,
This is where
that's all 309 through there too. It's fairly low.
is this one of the places that got
So what is
flooded
everybody's thought on?
when they had it dammed
Whether or
up?
not it's
I know.
replacing the.
I don't know if this is one of them, I mean, their front
Step
yard's
one
always wet.
is
Well,
what
I mean, you're getting down on that end of the lake there, that's where the flood was.
I don't know, they,
It's more than 50%.
I don't believe these
George,
people
what
have
are your-
ever been flooded.
If
Yeah.
it's more than 50%,
I know the front yard's always wet.
Right,
it's gonna be, set back, but it is pretty much where it's gonna be. That's what I guess we're saying, is that gonna matter?
I think you can move it back some, I just don't know.
Right, and once again, I don't know how we've,
Cause there's no.
I mean,
foundation
we've
there.
dealt with this before where the best practical extent to move it back is obviously we don't wanna cut trees, we don't wanna do things of that nature.
Well, I don't think we're looking at trees.
No, I understand that, well, that's,
But
what I'm saying is this is different than a lot of the stuff we've looked at before, where you're not clearing trees. But the disturbance to pick this up, rotate it, move it back,
2 feet, it's not gonna matter.
a little bit there, I don't know if it matters or not.
Yeah, and it would require then, for sure, then it would require, if you're gonna do something like that, then it would require a permit to fill in the floodplain, in the flood zone.
Well, if
Right
you go to
now.
chapter 7, set 703, it's gonna require permits for floodplain work, because it's in the flood. It's in an AE zone.
All right, we can look into that.
I mean, where does that, do you have it marked on here where that zone ends?
What's that? The flood zone?
Yeah.
It pretty much follows that 309 contour, if you can see that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can see that design stuff on
Yeah.
on that board better than Brent.
The big ones?
No,
No?
I don't think.
309 runs pretty much between the camp and the septic.
Probably left them in there.
No,
Just above.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be difficult to get it back here.
Well, no, I wouldn't expect to get it out of the flood zone, but
Well, and is it, I guess if it's all the same elevation, is it, gonna be moving from one wet land area to another? Is that really,
Is it wet up there though? It's on the side, it's wet. The other side.
it's not, I mean, it doesn't show whether it's by the driveway.
The whole front area in front of the camp between the lake, which is grass area, that's usually a lot wet. You got the whole wet area in the side of the camp, and then as you get up by the driveway, it's a little bit higher, but it's still, you're in the flood zone. So their intent was to kind of leave it where it was and keep the less disturbance on the ground itself. But to be able to replace whatever piers are under there, and maybe add more if need be.
I find it hard to believe that when they had them ballasts at the end of the lake, that this camp didn't go on the wall. Cause I know where these places are.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of these places there, they pretty much abut AAA camp. They're very, very close to AAA camp, I know that for a fact.
Yeah, well, as you know, Jim, a lot of time back in the day, there was no rules and regulations, people did what they wanted.
Well, we may see more of this in the future. If somebody wants to do something major.
Well, we probably do 30 or 40 of these a year in different towns.
I know there was a lot of A lot of places built in the sixties.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are retired, they're gonna fix up the, summer home and move to Maine and retire.
Right.
What page is
We're doing
it
a lot.
on? 306 something?
Floodplain
Yeah.
permits, 7, I don't know,
Oh, 7, yeah, I'm in 3.
7.
703, I had 3-part, right?
The only one we've ever dealt with that was gonna be expanded in the floodplain was one you did.
I don't remember.
The end of Jordan Shore, but they never came in for permits.
Oh, the new house that got built?
No, it was a small camp right across from the island, right there, almost on Bakerstown. That was in, part of that was in the floodplain and part of the flood zone. And they never came in, that was the only one we dealt with, where the building itself was in
In
the
the flood
flood zone.
zone? Alright, well, I'll go back and look at that one, whatever I did.
I think we had the same discussion about permits, but they never came in.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's up to the board to determine that if it's gonna be on the foundation and the best practical extent. Right?
How far up is this from here to here?
Right.
I can't tell. Is that
What are we
2
looking
feet?
at?
How far is it to, like, how far to move it back? Is that 2 feet, is that,
Well, it's 6'6" off that sideline right now.
right, but to spin it and move it backwards like you said, like how far is
Spin it
that?
into here.
Oh, you could go, you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's where he's going back into the
Because you're
309.
great, the only thing that's stopping you at this point is your septic field.
Septic's behind it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. So the consensus is that it would be considered replacing the foundation?
Well, if you're gonna replace at least 50% of what's under there and maybe add more, as Stuart said,
That's been the discussion, I don't know how many, anybody's really looked under this yet.
I mean, more than likely, it's just sitting in blocks.
Or a wooden cedar post or something.
It's gonna have a new foundation.
yeah.
And how much does that raise?
Well, I mean, I guess that's what I'm getting at. If it's gonna stay on piers and posts and blocks, then we're considering that the foundation.
Right. Yeah, I
Well,
guess,
considering whatever they put in a
yeah,
foundation.
and are they able to rescue any of the ones that are already under there, or are they sunk into the ground? We don't even know what's under there.
I don't think anybody knows what's under it yet.
But if there's any, let's say concrete or stone that they're sitting on, they're just settled because of being so wet there, is that what we're talking about, or is it something, they wouldn't be trying to salvage any of that?
You're gonna cut the floor right off.
No, they're gonna replace the floor and fix what's under there now. I mean, it is rotting and sinking a little bit, George, and so I assume there is some settling on whatever's under there. I don't know if
If they're
anybody
gonna
really
cut the
knows.
floor out and lift it already, like, you got the cranes and everything there, why not put it back?
Well, I mean, once again,
Foundation definition.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I go on any of this crap, because I mean, like me, would I consider piers and posts a foundation because it holds something up versus what I would consider a foundation is something you can put mechanical and stuff under. It says supporting structure of a building or other structures including, but not limited to basements, which is what we would consider a foundation. I think that's what we're getting held up on. Slabs, sills, posts, or frost walls. So posts, piers, posts, blocks, all fall under that definition. So I guess that now, it gets back into, I think, for it to stay where it currently is and adding on to it, I guess we'd have to have some more information presented to us, right?
As to what's under there, what they're
Of
doing.
what's there and whatever, because if not, then I guess it would have to be moved back to the best practical extent and you know, I'm not here to rain on anybody's parade, but we've done that with just about everything that's been here. And the only times that we don't basically force it to be moved back if they're mature trees and it's gonna do more damage, right?
Right. Yep.
It sucks that somebody wants to add on to their building, has to, once again, like you're saying, you're gonna jack it up, it's gonna be up in the air, right? And to move it back
It's probably easy.
3 or
in
4
my
feet,
opinion.
yeah, well, I don't know, I mean, it's not gonna be easier in the sense of, it's not like they can just jack it up in the air and do what they gotta do over here and drop it onto that, because it's still part of that structure, is gonna be under the existing structure, I'm assuming. Yes?
Theoretically, but it
Maybe.
could also be moved back.
Could be right back, rather.
Yeah.
They can do all the work here and we'll just,
Yeah, I think it seems, is there consensus from the board that it'd be helpful if we had a little bit more information on what's underneath the structure, and if they're gonna take a jacket, put it down existing with the addition, existing structure, and then do the addition, if it's possible, to know what's underneath there, because of the definition in the CLUC.
yep.
I'd say it could be pads, could be wooden posts underneath there, sitting on pads, could be
So once
something.
again, Jim, it doesn't matter,
Don't matter.
whatever's holding this structure up is
Oh,
considered the
yeah, it's
foundation.
sinking.
It's considered the foundation based on our definition. So,
So then it becomes to figure out what's under there, 50% of whatever's gonna get replaced, or just move it back, spin it.
spin it and move it back to the best practical extent. Yeah. Well, by saying that, can we at least, if the consensus is, if they can do it with under 50%, they can stay where it is, right? If it's gonna be more than 50%, we shouldn't have to keep going back and forth. Can we come to some sort of consensus of where it should be moved back to? Just so
If
that's
it's-
not
if
another,
it-
that's
If
so
it's
it's not.
more than 50%, you're saying.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
if it comes back,
Yeah.
then with more
Yeah,
research,
What is the greatest?
where is the greatest practical extent? Thank you for zooming in on that, Zach. Where are we looking at there? Because you got the setback to the,
Well, you would have to, which doesn't come into play right at the moment, but you got the wetlands there, which you need to be 25 feet away, so, you twist that into that little window, go 25 feet, 20 feet from the sideline, or stay the 6.6, whatever, try to spin that in there.
and then
I suppose creatively-
then you're gonna be encroaching on the wetland, is what you're saying.
Yeah, one way or the other. You're gonna be disturbing that property, more than,
Because,
Just
you
be
can,
able
you
to
can see
under-
the dash line up there and you see the ERP and the nail for the septic and all that stuff. You see where 20 feet is off the property line, right? Now, you take that off that building, back to the hashed line around the wetland, that's, I can't scale that in my head, but it's a little bit more than 20 feet.
Yeah,
What is that?
but it's not gonna be
And
much.
it's hard to
different
tell
where
from
it's
this,
at.
is that a wetland associated with drip pond?
yes.
So wouldn't they then allow you to be no closer to the,
I mean, they're 9 feet.
no closer than that 18.7 to the
18.7.
wetland?
Yeah,
If it's
That's
associated,
a
if
good
it's a
question.
wetland associated with the lake.
That's a good question, Scott. We'd have to stay at least 25. Could we get as close as 18.7 to the wetlands? I'm not sure.
I know we had a big fight about this on,
I know right now we're beyond
Thompson.
25 feet of the wetlands where it sits right now.
Right.
Um,
But if that's a wetland associated with drip pond, then wouldn't the same 18.7 apply no closer than the resource? Because I think in all honesty, if you went to the DEP and said, we want to pull this away from the lake, but we need to get closer to the wetland.
All right, so the intent is to get to move this thing back, or have somebody
Well,
get under there
I'm
and
just-
determine whether they're gonna remove or replace 50% of what's under there now.
I think that's gotta be the first question that's answered.
I think if you're moving it up 2 feet, I would assume.
Because, I mean, once again, if we can rotate this and move it back 4 feet, I honestly, I don't see the,
But what happens if they, I mean, if they're lifting it, aren't they gonna have to replace everything because nothing's gonna be touching at that point,
More likely, but
right?
well, I mean, is it replacing something or you're adding to it? I mean, I don't understand.
well, if they have concrete supports under there now, they could add to them, yeah, but it's
That's what I'm
doubtful that that's what's under there, more than likely.
And,
Given the age.
and once again, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. I mean, I have no idea what's there, so I think you know, it's more than likely exactly, it's what you're saying, Scott, but,
Right.
you know.
It's not a concrete pad or anything
You know,
inside.
I don't know.
Again, I don't know, George, and it's not, I'm hearing piers.
Okay,
Now, piers telling me wooden posts or blocks or whatever.
okay.
Whether it's
Yes, I
gravel
say
under
we
there.
table it until we find out.
I think we need to have more information on this to
Yeah.
make it legit.
At least you know, like, if you uncover it and you gotta replace 150%, it's gotta go back. If not, bring us that information and then we can try.
All right, I guess, if that's the consensus of the board, I think we can have a motion to table it, please.
It's a motion that the Showman Land zoning application, June and Jonathan, 132 Sunderland Drive, map 14, lot 45H, is tabled until we have additional information.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Something like that. A formal site plan application from Matt New. Is anybody here to speak on this, or?
You here?
It's not Matt. It's
I'm not Matt Nim.
No, it's fine, but as soon as Stuart leaves, you can come up and,
You get right out of the way.
Well, we have a little well here, I just want to remind everybody, there's a toy drive for the Poland Town Food Bank. Deadline for drop-offs is Wednesday, December 18th. Toys needed for girls, boys, or 0 to 18. Gift cards for older kids. Donation box is in the lobby until December 18th.
wonderful, thank you.
How much more you guys got on your agenda? I just have a question, I'll stick around a few minutes.
This, and I know somebody's here to speak as well, so if you wanna just hang out for a little
I'll
bit.
hang a
we'll see-
little bit.
Yes, see how this goes. All right, introduce yourself, please, and,
Scott Owens, I'm the general contractor from Matt New.
okay. It seems like from what we're seeing, that this is just a change to what was approved, is that correct?
Correct.
And this is to move,
Sure, we did.
yeah, this was to move what, the vacuum?
Vacuum islands from the edge of property to beside the building.
Now, Scott, you wanna walk through this? I did see that Jim had weighed in on some of this.
Yeah, he didn't, basically, he didn't have any major issues with it. Tom also chimed in.
I saw Tom basically said that.
His question was basically setback from here to the building, but we scaled it, and he seemed to be fine with it.
Okay, so, yeah, basically said it's still gonna be as accessible to
Yes.
him as it was
I
previously.
asked him if he was concerned, because they've kind of shifted this site forward and kind of to the right.
Yes.
And I asked him if he had any concern about the other side of the automatic bank getting around there. He said he probably would never go that way.
Okay.
He said if he really had to turn around, he'd go through one of those bays.
Really? Alright. I thought that's why we created
Yeah,
roundabouts, because these people seem to have problems with hammerheads, but I guess,
Renee, you gotta go.
well, that was years ago, so maybe we have better drivers now, I don't know.
Yeah.
So basically, there was a few other things that Jim was talking about on was it stormwater, he thought there could have been something done a little bit different, and pipes coming back in and so forth to the outflow, but he wasn't 100% concerned with that, I guess, what I read. So,
Was that Sebago Titans?
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that he had an issue with was the pavement, so is the base pavement down?
Yes.
Is. Okay. So I think, was that something that he said we should look at as well, Scott?
So we
on-
should look at it in the spring.
In the spring on the base pavement, but make this a conditional approval of the, other pavement going down once the asphalt plant's open up
Well,
again.
it would be a condition, I mean, that,
But I mean, it's gonna have to be a conditional approval because the pavement's not done, right?
Right.
It's
well,
conditioned
that's part
on,
of the, that would be part of the permit approvals anyways. Well, the only thing, I don't know if we need to condition the approval on that,
okay.
because we're gonna look at that in the spring. before
Right, well,
they-
as long as you have enforcement issue, as long as you have the enforcement power to say, you gotta put the damn top coat on, if not, that's just a notice of violation.
Well, yeah, I mean, that'll be a condition of their, approval though. Will be the-
So they can't open then without the final coat down?
Oh, no, the approval, that'll be a condition of their approval to open, that this is done as soon as.
As soon as possible.
as soon as-
That was kind of my proposal on that
Right.
part, would be the finish the pavement. As you know, there are some landscaping that needs to be done, which we can't even get the
Obviously.
junipers at this point
Oh,
in
sure.
time, or any of that. And that's where I was gonna go to Scott about a conditional permit, like giving him until June 1st, or whatever Scott deems reasonable, to have the finished pavement done and the landscaping and anything else that Scott may wanna put in there.
I did get a request from Public Works that we see if we could get a coat on those sidewalks,
Get a what?
get a shim coat on those sidewalks. I know it's gonna be tough now, it would've been like 2 weeks ago when you had the pavers out there.
Well, they were supposed to do it.
Okay.
So that's part of that'll be a spring thing. Because they shut down the plant in Topsom that supplies the curbing mix. I didn't realize it was two different companies,
Oh, neither did I.
but the curbing mix is comes from a different company than the asphalt base itself.
Well, just as long as it turns into one of these things that doesn't drag on until, September of next year that this actually occurs, that's why I'm just saying.
I think Scott should put
It's-
a timeframe on.
Well, it's not a
when-
matter,
there's
it's not a
also-
matter of Scott putting something on, it's a matter of this board.
Okay, well, you
putting
guys
a
have
time
put
frame
something
so
on a
just-
timeframe.
Yeah, just discuss it that way and
Well, he
then,
said that we don't put it on, he does that, I thought.
well, I mean, it's like we're just, when we approve something, it's, obviously they can't do,
Oh, I
The
thought he-
landscaping,
I thought he
so
said we
we just do it
condition.
at the easiest practical. So,
Right.
I mean, if you don't think we need to do it, so you
Well, if you
can,
wanna put a,
well, I think we
drop
should,
dead
just
date
so
on
you
it.
have a CYA on your end, right? Don't you think that would be?
I mean, it's not like people listen to me all the time, so.
Does this plan show the propane tanks too?
It doesn't show the propane tanks, that was one of his questions.
Yeah, that's, I was
Yeah.
I thought he
thinking,
said he was gonna put them on there.
The propane tank's on there.
Oh,
on the one up there, where?
Yeah, right there.
I thought they were.
No, it's down the
back.
corner.
No, right
Oh,
in that
there it is,
corner.
right there, yeah.
Right there.
So everybody, attention.
Okay.
Okay.
Sitting by the road right now.
All right, so,
And so the location of that tank is actually closer to the Dunkin' Donuts side behind the guide rail. The guide rail comes over probably 5 more feet. And the propane tank slides back 5 feet. And we just didn't want it on that, right on the corner. We wanted it back behind the guide rail.
So it's not there.
No, it's not.
So,
So basically, we
It's
could
in
do a
that general
conditional
vicinity.
approval with that having to be redrawn to show it behind the guardrails, or are you gonna put bollards in front of it?
It's gonna be behind the guardrail. It has to be.
is that?
They won't, because you can't have the propane tank there without it having crash protection in front of it. So
Well,
it
that's what I'm
has to
saying, that's what I'm
have,
saying, is you don't wanna keep it there and just put bollards on it, because if not, you're gonna have to redraw this and resubmit it.
I'll leave it there and I'll just run the guardrail farther.
Well, if the guardrail's not showing it go beyond, then it's gonna have to be redrawn, because the
Is it,
guardrail's not
is
on
it,
it.
is a guardrail enough? 'Cause
Yes.
normally they have concrete bollards there.
Yeah.
No, that's, at the Golden Nozzle, that's what we put around the whole, they have 4 1,000 gallons at the Golden Nozzle, and we went completely, we used a wooden guardrail system around that.
Is that what the gas companies are requiring now? Because I noticed that a number of places that had propane and things like that were upgrading and putting different, the concrete posts and things like that, and I don't know if that's something that's come out, as far as regulations, or is that?
No, I had
something people
Irving
just
come
do?
out, I just finished the Golden Nozzle, we opened on Saturday, Friday night, and I had, Irving Energy came out and they laid out what we had to have for requirements.
Okay.
And the wooden guardrails met their criteria for crash protection.
Okay.
So getting back to the consensus here, the vacuum bays are fine. Once again, something's gotta change. It's not like we can't approve this tonight, but this drawing's gotta change, one way or the other. Either the guardrail's gonna go past the propane tanks,
That's fine, I
or the
understand
propane tank's gonna go behind it, so.
Yep.
Just
That's
so we
just
have,
an
just so we
update.
have something on file.
Yep.
In case something goes haywire in the future, we can go back to.
Yeah, it's not an issue at all, we'll just have it redrawn and locate the tank and the guardrail precisely where it belongs.
So, is there any discussion from the board here?
Is he gonna do any, did you figure out, are we gonna do a condition in for a time frame, or are we?
I think
just
we
going
should,
to
just for
start?
time frame
On
to,
the pavement?
on the pavement and the landscaping, so it
Yeah.
doesn't, it's, because, permit's been already set forth, so, if you don't put a condition on it, then it's just drops on Scott, and it just creates ambiguity for him, whereas we can just say, this drop dead.
What do you think of your time frame?
When does the concrete plant open? Usually?
Asphalt normally opens up,
Asphalt.
it depends, but in May.
May.
In May sometime.
So I mean,
The one they use stays open all year round.
What's that?
I thought the one they use stays open all year round.
No, they closed, that's Allstate. Allstate only stayed open longer than the day before Thanksgiving because they didn't finish their project, so they left it open.
So like June 15th?
Yeah, I was gonna say July
mean-
1 or something, June
Yeah.
15th, July
I mean-
1, something.
The weather.
Yeah, I mean, weather
Right,
dependent, obviously.
Terrible.
So, alright. I'll go through this while you guys discuss that. Anybody from
July 1.
July 1, you wanna do that? July 1?
That sounds good to me.
July 1 sound good for consensus?
On the pavement.
On the pavement and the
Yeah,
landscape?
right.
Oh,
I've already discussed with them that it'll have to be lined this year before. They'll just have to reline it when they pave it again.
well, yeah, obviously. Site plan drawings, am I gonna say received, even though they gotta be changed?
Yeah, we'll just put it as a condition that
Yeah,
the,
okay, okay.
Is that a golden nozzle they built it in Norway?
Yes.
I thought it was. Is that Matt's too?
No,
Oh, it's a different outfit.
it's owned by Nutria,
Okay,
Nutria Energy.
I see.
I think Matt used to own the other one down the road though.
It's up there. Across
Doesn't
from
own it
McDonald's.
anymore, right?
No,
He's got another one over, was it Wyndham?
he doesn't own any.
This the only one? I thought he had another one, Roosevelt trailer.
No.
No, it was somebody else.
That, the new one they're building over there?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's,
is that another
Jim
golden?
Willie.
Is that another golden nozzle too?
No.
No.
It's the same thing as Matt's. That
Yeah.
one's pretty much their mirror image of each other.
Now, is any of his gonna be automatic, or you just go in and?
There's
spray
one
it down?
automatic, there's one automatic bay and 3
I
self-serve.
see.
Alright, so I guess we have to go through this since it's a revision that no on-site and no public hearing.
Correct.
Does anybody wanna have a on-site inspection or a public hearing on this? Yes, no?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Sarah put in the date we first saw this, which is great. Alright, I'll take a motion on the checklist, please.
I'll make a motion on the formal site plan application checklist for Matt New, 1379 Main Street, map 15, lot 5C, and it's complete.
You have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Alright, we have a motion on the final with conditions.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the final shoreline zoning, formal site plan application for Matt New, 1379 Main Street, map 15, lot 5C, with the following conditions: that the paving and landscaping be postponed until July 1st. And we do have new site plan drawings. Well, I don't know if we have a sort of deadline on that, but just, he needs to submit new site plan drawings, and that the propane tanks and guardrail will be in place before you open.
I'll have them done next week.
Okay. Is there anything else we need to throw in?
No, I think that was it.
Okay.
Discussion?
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, second, yeah. All those in favor? Alright, so new site plan, just new drawing, with a couple things.
Take care of it.
Wonderful, thanks for coming in. Alright, we've got some other stuff that we can do, but we have a couple people here in the audience, and ours is bookkeeping, so Don, if you wanna come up, please?
Hi, Don Miller, I was in front of you a while ago before the vet started their new building, and it was supposed to be surveyed. What's happened?
It was surveyed before you.
And marked, remember, that's what it was, and then I spoke with Sarah, and she said, I told her I could not make the next meeting.
They marked it,
And where's it marked?
the stake that was there.
The stake that I put there because there was a mark in the pavement. The pavement's now been dug away, that
Sure.
mark's no longer, let me finish, please. So the mark's no longer there. And the owner of the property came to me about a week or so ago, and she said her contractor told her, this is how she did it. She took me over between the two properties. The post is still here, the mark's gone. They had literally dug it out, and now it's approximately 3 feet further, and she did this on the ground. She said, my contractor said it's there. So I thought I was gonna be shown where it is. It was gonna be marked. It's not been marked.
The pin is not in the pavement, the pin is behind the pavement.
The pin is what?
It's behind the pavement.
Mhm.
It was marked on the lawn with a green mark. They told me they put a stake there.
No, they didn't put a stake there. I
When
put
I
the
said,
stake
well-
there when I found the mark. Remember I showed everybody the picture of the colored in the pavement? It's gone. And now the owner just came over, kicked the ground and said, this is where my contractor, not a surveyor, a contractor told her the mark is. She just kicked the ground. There was no mark, there was no paint, no nothing there.
So they found the pin with the metal detector.
A contractor did,
Yep.
not the survey.
Well, once again, I mean, the vets had a survey, it sounds like Dawn had a survey on her property when she came in. The fact is, somebody finds a pin, I mean, if you came down the range line on my house, there are pins out there, and there are pins when Stuart came out and surveyed my lines, and they're not even close to being whatever, so I mean, I would assume that all this is meets and bounds, because you have two state highways, being 26 and White Oak Hill Road. And just because a pin is hypothetically there, they can wand it and you can say, we find a metal structure here, but unless you see that cap with the PLS on it, or the new PLS from Sebago, I'm assuming, Sebago did that, right, for VetCor?
The survey was done by Keith.
Oh, Keith Morris did it? Okay, so I guess that's what Dawn is getting at
So do
is,
you want them to set a pin?
I'd like to have a verification that it's someone, a contractor just didn't wand it and say this is where it is because we found a monument versus,
Right, I wasn't here for the meeting that she's talking about, but back
Mhm.
when they first came, I thought that we had made an agreement with her that it would be surveyed and it would be marked.
yes,
Thank
that's what we
And that
did.
was quite a long time
It
ago.
was surveyed when they came in.
Right, the survey, they presented
It
a
was
survey
surveyed
to
and
us, but I think what Ms. Miller's saying is there's not been a pin set.
Right.
It's-
Which I
and-
believe we
and-
said there would be.
Correct, and there was, I think your complaint from what you're saying is the contractor, not the surveyor,
Right,
said this is where it is, we wanted it, we found this, whether or not it's.
right. And I understand where she's coming from, because it would be more formal if it comes from the surveyor versus the contractor.
Is this a
Right.
civil thing though, or is this something that
We kind of put it in the approvals that
Right.
we would mark that boundary for her.
We said it would be marked. We didn't specifically say. we
Now,
had
is
to
this
set
in the
a line.
corner,
No,
going up the hill?
No,
no.
this is between,
The old gym and the vet.
exactly, between the old gym and the vet.
And the reason this comes about is because there was a building put on my property that belonged to them, and what the owner said, oh, it was a little building, and they didn't know by putting the big building that it was going on your property.
Okay, so you own the little, what's it, the
Correct.
photography shop?
No, the grooming shop. The dog grooming shop next to the vet.
Oh, it's a dog grooming now,
Correct.
because there was a bottle works.
Alright,
and
Jim,
then it was-
Jim, we're
Oh,
getting,
okay,
we're getting way off, it doesn't matter,
Well,
the stuff
I'm
was
trying to
30
figure
years
out where
ago.
this building is.
Right, so it's.
Next door to the
It's
vet.
right next door to
Okay.
the vet,
Okay.
it's those buildings there.
Stuart's got a
But-
Stuart?
question.
Can I interject if you don't mind?
Yes.
It sounds like there's two different surveys done for east side, and you have those plans, and if the plan shows.
I think that the
To be
plan,
set at that point, then there should be a pin set if it hasn't been set, so.
right,
um,
and I think that's what Dawn was asking when the vets came in for the expansion is to have the pin set, so she knew exactly
So
where
if the
everything was.
survey
Kids-
showed there's a symbol there, there's a pin to be set,
Require
or it was set, and now, and it's not there, then the surveyor needs to go set the pin.
The gentleman that was doing the survey, one of the young people walking around, told me that I needed to open my fence because those new storage units may be built on the vet's property. Those storage units been there over 25 years. So again, because I thought I had the approval to have this marked at that last meeting, and then it just didn't happen, and now the owner came over and said, what I said, scratched the ground and said, this is where the contractor said. So all I want is it surveyed and marked.
You want it surveyed and marked or surveyed and pinned?
Pin,
Been
pin
surveyed.
marked.
It's been
Okay.
surveyed.
So
No,
I
I
think-
don't want spray paint.
Yeah.
I want actual pins so that no matter what happens in the future, there's no doubt what that pin is about.
And I think that's where the verbiage got off, is because I
You
think when
only
she's,
required it to be marked.
because when she says marked, she means pinned,
That's what.
Correct.
That's what the condition was.
right? And I think that's where this has gone awry.
But wasn't this the one that they couldn't pin it because it was in a sidewalk or something? Was that this?
Wasn't there originally something in
Okay,
the sidewalk?
it's in the sidewalk, right? No, it isn't, not anymore.
That's,
Because it moved 3 feet the other direction since the first time when I put the post in, because they had put a mark on the pavement. And now there's a chip, there's a hole in the pavement, that mark's gone.
So there's a hole in the pavement, but there's no stick. or
The
stake.
stick is there, the colored part that they marked it with, and this was even before me coming in. I took a picture to kind of explain what was going on.
So the stake's there, but the color's gone.
Correct. It's dug out of the pavement, there's literally a hole there now.
And the stake was there by the surveyor or by the?
No, I put it, it's just
Oh,
a
your
tall
stake.
stake, it's not even sitting up straight, it's like this. It's, yeah, I just did it because that's the only mark that I could find in the location when I went out there and looked. And then Daryl Lynn, I believe is her name, came to me just 2 weeks ago or so and scratched the ground and did that, so. Because I thought I had fair representation that it was going to be surveyed and marked appropriately when you do a new construction like that.
I think if I were you, I would go in the county building, look at the deeds.
Jim, it doesn't,
They
it doesn't,
should-
Yeah, it's-
Jim, it doesn't,
you
it doesn't
agree?
matter. She had a survey done on her property.
Yeah,
which
but
she-
every surveyor, we've
I-
dealt with them.
Well, I
And
know,
Stu knows.
we dealt with one across the street.
Every surveyor looks at property different. They mold pins back and forth. They did it to my mother's property.
You know, it doesn't
And I
actually act
believe they
like
may
that,
have moved the
Jim.
other
They do,
pin.
they
Let's,
move.
let's,
But anyways, this was agreed upon, so that's why I'm here. I would like to have that taken care of, like it said. It was going to be done in that meeting that I attended.
I mean,
And I
I
asked-
do recall that being, coming up, and I recall in making the motion that we would make sure there was a pin there. And the contractor or the, who was ever presenting that site review said he would make sure that that was there at the end.
Did he say
I think it
pin
was
though?
said it was gonna be marked, but I mean, once again, our opinion of what marked was, is to put
A stake.
something, not a wooden stake, but,
Right, a
I mean,
pin.
something, I mean,
Yeah, with a cap on it.
yeah, if you,
And it could be flush with the ground, so at least you can kick it and see something. There was nothing there when she kicked the ground, but more dirt. And why wasn't, drive a stake in and stuff? Come see me and say that. They
But-
didn't.
but once again, I think to have it marked is to have it marked is kind of what we're asking to have done. But that doesn't affect any of the setbacks to the new structure, correct? So that's a different issue, and since the shed now has been moved, which was on your property,
Correct.
that's fine, but I don't see it as a great hindrance to Sebago or whoever they use to come out and drive something, or Keith, I'm sorry, Keith, to come out and actually drive something.
Well, if he shows a pin to be set at that corner, then that pin should be set.
I think they said monument found. It didn't say, didn't say there was gonna be a new pin.
Well, if he shows a symbol on his plan as a pin to be set, then it needs to be set.
No, I don't think it said pin to be set. I think it said monument found and described what it was.
Well, then if there's a monument there, then maybe they need to get a shovel out instead of kicking the ground, dig it up and find it.
Right, make it visible.
Because, I mean, if you have two surveys on either side and there's no contestants where the lines are, but yet one of them, somebody didn't mark their lines. It doesn't sound like there's an issue between the surveys. It's just, somebody didn't mark the lines, or if they did, they're not, she doesn't understand, or whoever her neighbor doesn't understand where the real line is, I don't know.
Why didn't it stay where it was originally when it was marked?
Well, I
Why
don't.
did it have to come back
well,
over? But
Don,
that's
I'm
only
sorry,
her.
Stuart's here for another application, but he is a licensed surveyor, and he's basically saying, what you're saying is, if it says monument found, and they found the monument, they need to dig it up. Or somebody needs to mark where that monument is in the earth, and, which is not what happened on your end. And it seems like from everybody's recollection up here, it was,
That was
when
gonna
we
be-
said
gonna
marked,
be
it
identified.
wasn't,
It would be
wasn't like-
identified with some type of pin.
right, I mean,
We
you
didn't
read,
break
you
it.
read certain deeds, it's go down to the old birch tree and blah, 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 and obviously the
don't?
trees get cut and
No,
whatever,
I
but
do.
these are two recent surveys.
What I recall is that they that's, this, if it's the same thing as I just brought up, he was gonna mark it with spray paint because it was in the thing. So they were not gonna put a stake, it was going to be, they're gonna find
Right,
it
but,
and mark it with spray paint.
but what she's saying and the survey's saying is it's not in the pavement.
Well, that's what the current situation between her and the owner is saying, but I don't know if it was ever marked on that spot. Somebody moved her stake, is what she's.
Nope,
No, they didn't move her stake.
there was the paint on the pavement.
So they did what they were
And
supposed
I
to do.
went next to that where there's dirt,
Mhm.
and I put the stake in.
Mhm.
And now, when Daryl Lynn, my neighbor, came over, she said it's now over here in the dirt. So if it's over there in the dirt, there should really be a pin, because it's not the pavement anymore. So there's just confusion, and I would like it clarified.
I think it was clarified, it sounds like maybe the owner of that place is, I mean, it sounds like that we asked him to mark it in the thing, he painted it in the thing, and now the owner of the vet is confused and thinks it's over here. Because that's what I recall was, they couldn't put a pin in it because it's in a sidewalk. So they're gonna mark it so she could see it. But I don't remember ever recalling them putting in a pin, because wasn't that the issue?
No,
Was
the
they
issue
could not
was, it
put
was
the
told
pin
to us that it was buried in the
in.
pavement,
Right,
which it turns out it wasn't.
no, it was,
They're saying, where he
Now
showed
it's
me where
not.
they think it is, where he said it was, it's a foot off the pavement.
okay,
So it's not
now
in the pavement.
So it's now it's not in the pin.
Correct.
Well, that's where they found a monument.
That's where they found the monument.
Monument.
So then they can delineate.
So they can do it, yes.
Right, because obviously you don't want to drive a pin
Into the pavement.
into the pavement where
Right,
the
well,
kids are gonna
that's
be
what I
riding the
was
bikes
saying.
and tripping and all
Right,
that.
well, that's what I was trying to figure
So,
out.
so I think it's one of those things that people did their quote-unquote due diligence, and we're getting different stories. Well, it's in the pavement. No, it's not in the pavement. Well, we found it here. Oh, no, here. So it sounds like Dawn went and marked. They said it was here on the pavement.
Mhm.
She drove something not in the pavement, but in line with just going back in the property off the pavement. Now she's saying that where the mark was has been dug up and now it's moved the opposite, onto your
Who
property,
moved
3
it?
more
Do you-
feet.
Do we know who moved it?
The owner of the property, Daryl Lynn, or
Is that legal?
again,
No.
she's referring to her
The
contractor,
contractor.
It's
had
not a
told
monument,
her
it's just
this.
Oh, it's just a
An
stake.
oak stake.
I think the best way to solve it needs to be measured out again. Get the surveyor back there and measure it out,
Did you have a
stop this
survey done?
argument.
Yes, when I did my
When she did the,
business, I
Okay.
submitted the survey.
Okay, and
Did
then
they
they
put
had a
stakes
survey
in?
done, and they don't match.
I'm not sure.
Is it?
I
Okay.
came here and they said they were gonna mark it, so I left it
Did your
at that.
survey have put stakes in?
No.
No, so-
There's back
Back
markers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the surveying, this recent stuff, I don't know. But yes, there's markers on the back side of the property. Have they been moved? I don't know.
Well, I think if it says monument found, the monument needs to be exposed. You need to know what it is.
Found.
And then the marker's there,
right,
then it just
because
needs to be
if
exposed.
there's, like so we're saying,
Right.
if this monument has been delineated and found,
Right,
then the vet corps has to mark that. And then at that point, it doesn't sync up with her survey, then that becomes something different
Right.
versus
right,
tell us where you found the monument.
right.
Because you have this on they got a PLS signing off on, we found a monument here. Well,
Right,
mark the monument then.
right.
However, that
The
is
other
gonna stand
helpful
the test of
information in
time.
that, and
That'd
if
be
it's
the
not
first
on the plan, because we always do that, if it's 6 inches deep, we put 5 by 5 granite monument found 6 inches deep. So that you know, when you go to look in this area, you gotta dig for it, not just say found monument. It's helpful information that might stop some of this, I don't know.
Yep.
It may have said that, I haven't seen that survey.
Yeah, so typically a survey will mark on there, 5/8 rebar found 6 inches down, or 1 foot up, whatever the case is.
What is
Describe that
we
monument.
had a copy of that site plan, must be on file here, right?
Yeah.
That she could look at and compare to hers, I guess. I don't
Well,
know.
I don't know about is
They
anybody,
could look it up for her though.
yeah, but I mean, if they put it on their site plan, they should be able to come out and document where
Well,
it is.
exactly.
And that's basically what we said we were
Would be
gonna,
part of the approval.
Right,
it was going to somehow be
identified.
I mean, I
It's
don't
gonna
think
be
we said
identified.
permanently marked, but I mean, it was kind of
we said-
implied what we were talking about, correct?
Right.
And John was right, because we had heard that it was buried in the pavement, which turns out that that's not the case. If you look, supposedly, if you look at the survey, it's saying monument found here, and here's all this other stuff, and it's not there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I, whether we said a stake or pin or whatever, I think we, if I remember correctly, we said it would be identified, and so you gotta identify it with something, whether it's a pin or a stake or monument or
Yeah.
whatever, but it should be identified some way. So how do we deal with this? What's the,
I don't think we have, I don't know if we have an authority to do anything. I mean, it'd be up to Scott to ask to
But
have
they
them actually.
already agreed to do it, so you don't hold them responsible?
well, that's what he's saying, that it's, we did agree to it in our approvals, but it's up to Scott, I guess, to contact them and ask them
To put a,
to put, to put that in
put a
there.
physical,
Okay.
physical
Do
there.
that. Is that something you can reach out to them at least?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to Sebago.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
They'd have, I don't know if they're coming back to do it. If they do it, or they'll get Stuart to do it, I mean, Keith to do it.
Keith to do it.
Yeah,
They'd probably reach out to Keith, because if they sub that out to him.
Oh, they didn't sub it out, Keith did that before Sebago got involved.
Oh, he had done it originally. I see what you're saying, yeah.
Whoever did the original survey where that monument is involved, needs to set the pin on. Whoever did the first survey.
right.
Or whoever did the survey that was
And I
used
assume
as
when-
part of the site plan.
Yes.
Yes.
And I assume when they came in after the fact, there was no issue, so, but it should be said by whoever the original survey.
Yeah.
Did that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll reach out and hopefully we can,
Thank
I
you.
know it's been hard for you with you and your neighbor, and
It's not
Well,
hard, it's,
no,
if
it's-
somebody builds something on your property, it's,
Well, we appreciate you bringing it to our attention, and I think it's important that you stay on it until it is corrected. So. keep
I
us
would say-
abreast. We don't hear about it, so.
I would say if it was a pin in the ground, a steel pin, you ought to be able to find it with a metal
well, Jim,
detector.
it's not up to her to find, it's up to
It-
the
No,
applicant
plus
to
you
do
have
their
to
stuff.
No, but I'm saying-
understand, there's probably other things that are in the ground there too, as far as using metal detectors. If it was that simple, I would have done it, but I marked what was there. But anyways, you've heard the story 100 times, and good, I thank you for your time, and
Yep.
I look forward to seeing that mark in the ground, stake, whatever it's gonna be, I would hope it wouldn't be just spray paint.
No.
An actual
I
stake.
think we need
that
something
will be a
physical,
permanent
either like
monument,
Stuart
a
says,
Permanent marking, anyway.
it's
of some
it's
kind.
either gonna be 5/8 rebar with a PLS on it, or whatever, what's typical now, of granite, 4x4s or something like that, or.
If there is a monument there, do you want them to replace it so it can be seen?
I think that's a good idea.
If there's a,
If there's a monument that's not in the pavement,
if there's a monument not in the pavement,
It should be visible.
something should be driven to, you're not gonna run it over with a lawnmower if it's on the
Well,
grass.
you can put you can drive it in to the surface and have a cap on it that, even if it's in the pavement, I've seen caps in the pavement and right, I mean, yeah, it might get paved over at some point, but it's there, so, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you could put a piece of rebar 5 inches down with a cap on it, it'll stay for a certain amount of time, but if there's a monument down there, or a rock, whatever they're
Right.
talking about, you could drill this thing down in there.
And get it
and
in,
flush it off with the ground,
right,
and that thing will probably never come out unless you take the whole thing.
dig it all out, right,
I mean, I've got a few 3 or 4 inch pins out there that,
yeah.
they're still there, but they can easily. but- So depending on the condition of this monument that's there, if they can drill down into it and set another 5/8 rebar and make it flush with the ground,
That would be ideal, right?
yes.
Okay,
How do you locate that? It's
If
not
there's
something-
no metal in it, then you're not gonna be able to locate it unless you've got a couple distances or something, or, do your deed research and figure out where these monuments should be, and then be able to go find them. You're not gonna be able to go out and wander, over that monument and pick it up, unless there's a bottle cap or something there, and you just happen to get lucky and ping, there's the monument. It's a hit or miss thing.
Yeah.
But they could establish this, if it's something they could drill down into, set this rebar, then it'll always be able to, you could go out with your watch, if you wanted to, or rent a metal detector, whatever, find there is no granite monument located.
Yeah, I didn't know
If
if
you
it was
find
made
one,
of
let me
something
know.
in particular that it could be detected that way.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's just like-
thank you for your time.
So,
You
right,
know,
done,
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
We're done.
Thanks, you too.
Yep. George, you wanna hand the findings, special findings? and-
Stuart, you had some question?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, Stuart. Yeah. Wait, 'cause I had to run that down. All right,
In 2019, we were here at Joe Semino's property, did a 4-lot subdivision. He had an interested buyer in this piece here, the building that's next door. But come to find out, when we had the site plan done, the DOT permit was actually the same permit they got permitted using this, for this entrance back in 19. Well, what's happening now is we got another DOT permit to come across lot 4 that's gonna service the gun shop and this lot at some point, and they're gonna close down Joe's entrance here, and this one's already been dug up. So we're gonna have one entrance on DOT that's gonna service these 3 lots. This is under another contract for another buyer that was gonna be in Aroma Joe's. They were gonna take and design all this through the whole engineering process of this. They've kind of walked away. He does have another buyer, but Joe wants to put his entrance in so he can access his park and close his entrance down here. Question is, I'm probably not getting involved in this site plan and the engineering that they're gonna require. But as long as Joe wants to put his driveway in 26 feet wide, which is what the requirements are, or bigger, to access his lot for his business, do we need to have that engineered? Because we're gonna come back to the board with a revised subdivision plan to show we're taking out this entrance, removing Joe's and putting in that. So the question is, does Joe need an engineering to put in his driveway? As long as he makes it to 26 feet initially. Because with the Aroma Joe's, I can't remember what he said was going here now, but Aroma Joe's had a whole thing going on with DOT, lane changes and all that, permitting they had to go through. They were gonna engineer this whole thing. But now they've kind of walked away. So he's got another buyer that's not gonna go as extensive as Aroma Joe's was, but they're gonna need to engineer their own entrance.
their own entrance off from the shared entrance.
Yes.
So what's happening with that shared entrance?
The shaded entrance isn't on the property of the gun shop, right?
No, that's
No,
actually on
it's
lot 4.
It's on lot 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's lot 4, and that's gonna access the back of lot 4.
So I asked Joe the same question. That DOT permit only states that it's for the gun shop.
Yes, because,
What happens with the other?
right, because they gotta do their own permitting, through DOT, a different permit than what Joe, so we didn't include the Aroma Joe's at the time in Joe's permit. And because he didn't know exactly what was gonna happen back here, so this permit is really only for Aroma Joe's at the moment,
Well, it's only for Joe's.
or for, Joe's gun shop.
Right, but you can't just stub that in and go in, because, I mean, you have to, I mean, it's a driveway permit, right? Or is it a road permit? It's gotta be a road permit, right? Well, no, he's got enough road
He's
frontage.
got the curb cut's already there, right? I mean,
No, you're taking out the curb cut
From
that's
up above, from the gun
from up
shop.
above,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they already took out the one down by the Aroma Joe's, cause that culvert's been pulled out.
mhm.
So they wanna do one on that, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
that God-forsaken,
That lot, right.
weird lot,
Right,
to come in, and then that would come in and act as Joe's entrance.
but has that already been approved as an entrance off the highway? That's like,
It has, there is a permit for it,
Is it-
just for Joe's gun shop.
is it, okay,
That's what it stated.
okay, so you're
So it's a
saying-
driveway then, or it's a road? It's a driveway permit?
It's an entrance permit from
And
the
at the
DOT.
time, Aroma Joe's had to go the next step on their permit, I can't remember the name of it, for their whole thing, so
Yeah.
they were gonna take care of that, but now.
So, I mean,
Traffic study.
What's that?
They had to get a traffic study.
Yeah, but then there's another permit they need to do too. Traffic study was gonna be part of it, but it's pretty intensive.
but if that occurs, an entrance permit, so what do we classify that as in our code book? It's an entrance permit. Stuart's saying it's gonna be 26, so it's gonna be 20 feet wide with 3-foot shoulders. Does there need to be a hammerhead, a turnaround, anything, or can it just pull into a parking lot over there? That's the only concern I would have.
Well, I don't know, it's amending his site. His site, I don't know, it's not on his site. but it's his entrance. And that changes the way, I mean, it changes everything there, because there was a 60-foot right-of-way through there, right? That went to that back
There was a
lot.
60-foot right of way into the back property, yeah.
Right.
Becomes a
There
common
was way
entrance
back,
then.
yeah, that went away.
Well,
So
wasn't
the
that-
lots aren't changing, they're just changing the entrances right now.
Right, but when we approved that subdivision last time, we had the 60-foot right-of-way to the back lot.
To the back building.
That was, I think, before, I can't remember, Scott, but I know
Yeah.
we,
It had to be there because there was no other way to get to it, because we knew the DOT wasn't gonna get another permit there.
yeah, well, it's not in place anymore.
Well, from what I understand talking to him, he told me that the pump station is gonna be the entrance for the Auburn housing. The driveway that comes in straight into Top Gun, he's gonna put rocks across there. The new entrance is gonna be down towards somewhere near the new building.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's
That's
exactly
what
what
it's
Stuart's
showing.
saying, is,
That's what
it's,
it's
the
showing.
two entrances now, Jim, are gonna
Yeah.
go away.
Oh, I know.
And that weird looking crappy lot there.
I talk
is
to Joe
gonna-
every day, I know what's going
Well,
on.
Well, then he
tells
should,
me every day.
then he should come in and defend
a
himself
state.
and talk about this himself.
Oh,
Instead of
he's
using
coming in.
Roxy, and I'm getting
He's gonna
really,
come in.
I'm gonna get really sick and tired of saying this, cause
No,
I'm
he's gonna
getting
come in.
pissed about this the whole time, because
Oh.
he's telling you this stuff, Jim, which he shouldn't be doing ex parte to begin with, and you should just tell him not to be talking to you about this.
It's the
'Cause he
owner that
shouldn't.
owns that property.
I understand that, but he's not
They're the
supposed to
ones
be
that are
talking
pushing
to
it.
him about this, even if he brings it up, you're supposed to say, I can't talk to you about this without it before the board. That's why he has his agent here. His agent now is coming in and explaining this, and I don't even wanna say Stuart's an agent, he's just saying,
I
we
think
have
this
to
is
do
a
this.
crock. This
Well-
is a crock, Jim.
Well, you can think of it
It is a
however you want.
crock.
You can think of it however you want, Jim. Do you wanna just sit here and say, okay, this is a totally new site plan because he's changing everything?
I know
And you
what's
gotta come
going
in and
on.
he's gotta spend
I
60
know Joe's
grand.
coming in here.
Well,
He told
then
me.
let him come in.
He'll come in.
Well, good, let him come in then. He-
It's the owners that are gonna be here. The owner of the property.
Who owns the property?
The people at the restaurant supply, it's bought the building.
That's not even on the lot, Jim. It's lot 4, still owned by Joe.
I'm
Is
not
it?
representing them, I'm here
It's lot
representing
4,
Joe.
which is still owned by
What
Mr.
we're gonna be
Semino.
doing
Oh,
is
he
getting
doesn't own
another
that.
Revised
Who owns
subdivision
lot 4?
plan.
Stuart, who owns lot 4?
Joe still owns lot 4.
He owns that and he owns the gun club. So Joe Semino owns that
Okay.
lot where the where the entrance
All right,
permit is
I
coming in.
understand that.
So
So-
he's the one, and Stuart's not representing the
No.
person that
Okay.
may or may not buy the
All
building
right.
that's been for sale for
So
14
all we're
times.
asking for, can we just go with a driveway permit, as Jim said, or do we need to design this entrance for Joe to access his gun shop? Close down his entrance here, he's already closed this one. So whoever gets involved with this will have to do their own.
Well, the
They're
whole
on that.
problem is, Joe told me the whole problem is, it's been the MDOT. He's been
Jim,
fighting with them.
Jim, that doesn't matter here, we got
No.
this all sorted out, I'm just coming to the board.
Oh, I know.
His
whether
conversations
Joe
with you
needs
shouldn't
more
even
than
be here.
a driveway permit, at the time we come. Nothing else changes on the lots, just changing 2 entrances down to 1. But Joe's had a few accidents up by his entrance, so
So we're
he
gonna need a
was
new
more than
plan,
happy to move that.
a new plan.
I think we at least need to have an amended site plan, so we can have it reviewed by the fire chief.
What's that?
I mean, he's changing the entrance to his
Gun
property,
shop, yeah.
gun shop.
Right.
So I think it has to be reviewed by the,
Right, we're gonna come back to the board, the revised subdivision plan showing the new entrances. I'm just asking, can we, Joe, use this as a driveway permit to access his gun shop for now? Or do we need to engineer this design, this entry, to come before the board? Because at some point, when these people get involved, and or if he sells this before they do, somebody's gonna have to
somebody.
work that entrance. And my question now is, can Joe just open it with his simple driveway permit, or does he have to go through the expense of engineering a driveway for 2 other possible properties when he only really needs to get in there?
Does a permit differentiate what's gonna go there? I mean, is the permit 4,
Permit is for
Three-
Joe's gun
3,
shop.
The permit is just an entrance, it doesn't,
it's just an
doesn't
entrance?
go beyond their line.
Okay.
Right.
It just allows you to get on to 26. So,
Seems like it makes more sense to engineer it
I
now.
think, I think this is a better question for Jim than it is the board.
Jim Seymour?
Yeah, I mean, because once again, you're talking, the impervious is gonna be changing, correct? I know you're giving up, you're a little bit of an entrance into the gun club.
Yeah.
So you're gonna, and once again, I don't know how that would be in the sense of stubbing that off. If it's an entrance permit, do you
Well,
need,
So I was saying, you gotta run it by the fire department too.
well,
And, you know,
Well,
because
as
you are changing the flow of traffic through that. for-
yeah, but as it sits right now, you can pull into the gun club and you have nothing other than what exists now. And I mean, they'd still have to back out on 26.
True, but if you're going in there, you're gonna have to turn it.
But if you're changing where it is now, is it an amended site plan?
That's what I'm saying, it's gonna be
Yeah.
amended, so
Right.
it's whether or not, how much of the engineering is what you're getting at.
Right.
I mean, redrawing this and putting in rights of way and all that stuff, that's go home, play with the CAD and bing, bang, boom. It's just
Right.
whether or not all the phosphorus stuff's gonna have to change, but if you're adding impervious, I think, I mean, unless you can pull up the old site plans and there's X amount of capacity, I don't know.
The Jim Seymour question.
Yeah, I think it would be,
So
Yeah.
Scott,
I don't know,
if I
reading
send
this-
this to you,
reading
and you
this,
send
I
it to
think
Jim,
it's
you ask these
interesting.
questions, or?
Yeah.
Or can I do it directly?
It's easier if you do it through me.
All right. So I'll send you this plan, you can send it to Jim, get his comments.
I think that would
Matter
be,
whether we come next month, or we gotta wait 2 months for some engineering.
well, how about this? I mean, am I misremembering, or is he still here Wednesdays or Thursdays once if it?
Only if he needs to be.
So could Stuart set up a meeting with him through you to meet here at the
We met on
office?
Thursday, yeah.
Thursdays?
Well, I mean, I have to call him and find out what he's got available, but if you could send this to me, it's probably just as easy to send it to him. And
Right. But I mean, that's something we put in our budget because it's business friendly and all this other stuff was to help people with site plans, and this is different because this isn't like the place across the street, and you know what I'm saying, because this has been to us in metamorphosis 100 different times over.
So
So,
where he's putting it is on a different lot, a different property,
owned by him,
but it's owned by him.
correct?
Is it, I mean, it says any altercation just needs an entrance permit.
well, yeah, they have that.
Right, but the site plan is changing now because of where the road's coming in, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So the site plan's gotta be changed, but it turns into, you know, the phosphorus calculations, impervious, all that other stuff, and then whether or not, at that point, since it's a new entrance, you know, I think the fire chief would have to look at that as well. Even though what they have currently now is not ideal, but it exists. But once you change something, unfortunately, you gotta, you know, it's like
Yeah.
anything else, you gotta kind of bring it up to the code, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think, send that to Scott in digital format, and he can send it off, and maybe, instead of planning, I know personally for me, it's easier to sit face to face than sending emails back and forth, whatever. If possibly you want to set up an appointment on Thursday, that can be scheduled, if that, it's the day you're saying that Jim would come in if there's
He
something.
usually comes in, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is no big hurry, maybe in the meantime, these guys will come along and maybe they'll have to do the same thing, but I'll, you know, so another
Sure.
few weeks isn't gonna matter, I'll send to Scott.
Okay.
Joe's no big hurry.
Okay.
Um,
Well, be
Just a
nice to
matter whether
see.
he has to go through the expense or the next guy.
Yeah.
All right, so I
All right.
wanted to know.
Well, Stuart, apologize for putting you on as a pro bono surveyor this evening, but, it actually was very helpful, so,
I'm not really sure what was going on there, but I know there was a lot of things that,
yeah,
that's not how things work, but it is what it is.
yeah. No, we had a similar
But
thing
if you have a
across the street
survey
too.
plan that shows a pin to be set, and if you had a discussion with the contractor to go back to the surveyor to set the pin and that never happened, then
That's
that's
not,
where the
that
problem
was
was.
the discussion yet.
And he would never went and told them to set it.
All right,
It's shown on the plan, it should be set.
all right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Stuart. Why don't we do the findings, and then, if we get to the CLUC stuff, we get to that. We got findings of facts, for the final major subdivision plan for Auburn Residential Development Corp. Map 6, lot 47.
Night, everyone.
Night, Stuart.
Good night.
Drive safe. This was another one that came before us a bunch of times, and
Yeah, I mean, I was here for someone, but I wasn't here for the final approval, so I can't vote on it. I guess what she's saying in here.
Me,
Or that's it when it finally,
I still don't agree with that. I mean, it's,
yeah, I know,
I don't know. It's not a, considering this has been
There's
one
a
of
few
our
other
longer
procedural
meetings, I'm not
things
gonna
that
fight it right now.
quite in agreement with, but we haven't delivered on it now.
Alright,
It's not me.
I don't have a fancy one. I don't think mine does that, cause it doesn't care if it gets stolen or not.
Probably
That's
still.
why you leave the keys in it, huh?
I'll tell you a funny story about
Okay.
that at the end of the meeting, so. Fire hydrant must be installed, yeah, I remember that. Right, so it's, the other part of this was, the major thing was if it had expanded beyond 18 units, there was gonna be another secondary way up.
Right, right.
So, anybody have any questions on that, concerns? If not, can somebody make a motion?
Make a motion to accept the findings of fact conclusion of law for final major subdivision application, Auburn Residential Development Corp., Main Street, Route 26, map 6, lot 47E.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? The next one is the finding of fact and conclusion of law for formal shoreline zoning application for Brandon Smith, 9 Blackberry Lane, map, wrong glasses, map 5, lot 5. This was the young gentleman that bought a camp and had a big pine tree come across.
Right.
And he was right up against the deadline for pulling a permit. I think that was all.
We had it the last time we were here, right?
Yep, that was the last one we were here.
Cheryl, were you here for that?
I don't think so.
This is absent with notice. Oh,
I
yours
was
says
here,
that?
though.
I didn't see it.
No, it doesn't say that.
Oh, the one in our packet doesn't, well.
Yeah, but I wasn't here. I know I wasn't. So.
We all know you weren't.
Make a motion.
Yeah,
Were you here, George?
Yeah, I was here, but go ahead. You-
yeah, this is the official one,
Alright,
so
I'll do it,
Cheryl was
okay.
the only one.
I can make a motion that we approve the finding of facts of the formal shoreline zoning application, Brandon Smith, 9 Blackberry Lane, map 5, lot 5.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Thank you, okay, we got CLU stuff, CLUC stuff, I apologize. It's kind of like a working list, I believe that Sarah had thrown together.
You get both of those back, Scott?
Just get through that.
Oh,
Yes, yeah, that's blue pages.
is there any other?
It's before the conclusion of law.
Yep.
Oh, before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I see it back there.
Just find it. That
We
blue
get
page right
them
there.
out of order, huh?
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
All right, so these are some things I think Sarah had put together from some of our conversations. So limit LED sign size in historic district and LED signs to 16 square feet. Did we
What are they-
talk about that, or?
What are they now?
It's 32 square
It's
feet now,
30.
only 50% of it can be lit at any time, which is a nightmare.
Because of night glare.
No, a nightmare for him.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
I was gonna
How
say,
do
I
you-
gotta figure out
How
what
do
I
you
was.
enforce what's
I was trying to-
50% and, I mean, if we're gonna give them a size, let them use the whole board.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
So if we bring it down to 16 square feet, that would be the size that they could light if they had 32 square feet. So they can always be, I mean, if you backlight one of those, you're in violation at this point. And no, I'm not calling people every time I see one backlit, because it's just, it just does not work.
So is this saying basically in the historic district as well, it's
The
16?
historic
or-
district
It's written as 20.
is kind of dropped out of the sign requirements. So there is no limit in the historic district for some reason.
So
And you know why I don't know that? Do you know what my preamble is all the time? We've got a 12-page sign thing. I don't get paid any money to go through it, so I don't know exactly 100% on
When I
that.
was
So
reviewing
I thought-
those requirements for her new sign,
Yeah.
I said, well, there is no requirement.
There is no requirement because in that.
My only concern about the 16, if we say 16 foot,
Square.
is but is that limiting, like, is that the whole sign? What if the sign has a border? Is it
Well-
only the lit up part?
The lit part.
Yeah, he said
lit
only the
part.
lit part.
Okay.
So you could still have a 32 square foot, you could have a 4x8 sheet, but
Okay,
the LED lit part could only be,
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
but yeah, it makes like picture framing.
Right, yeah, that's what I was wondering, like, if we're just measuring the sign and the sign, yeah, no, that makes sense, yeah, that's what.
And once again, these are just suggestions, whatever, because we're obviously gonna go to public hearing and all that, so,
Well, the second one's not a suggestion, it's something we have to do.
which is,
Allow mobile homes in all zones.
yep.
That went into effect August 19th.
So,
No, I just didn't know, I mean, it's the whole, you know, we need more housing and this whole thing that we dealt with in this town about,
It sounds like
Accessory
it's coming back, so.
yeah, I mean, us allowing 2,000 square foot
Yeah.
accessory stuff, and I don't know, is that caused an issue for you? I know the person one person that wanted it to be the size of a mobile home. I saw at the dump, he had already come in to pull his.
Issued his permit, that's the only permit I have issued since July 1st.
Well, hopefully it doesn't open that weird
And it
floodgate.
was exactly what he wanted originally, 1,400 square feet.
Yep, exactly, he didn't even go up to the 2,000, right? He went to,
I think it was
Good, well, good for him.
700 was the original.
well, no, he said it was like 700, so if you have a mobile 700 in the basement, that's where you get the 1,400, so. Mobile homes, any zone, any,
I mean, there's still gonna be regulations in shoreline and floodplains that we have to deal with, but
right,
we have some mostly village zones that
I was gonna
don't
say,
allow
yeah,
mobile homes, they only allow modulars.
modular.
So we have to change all those allow uses in all those zones that regulate.
so, I mean, in determining that's a mobile home is, that has a steel frame, basically. Is that
Well, it's the
what you use for-
definition.
Yeah, the
Definitions
definition,
are in the,
okay.
definition A, B, and C of manufactured homes.
Right,
are
I
in our-
understand, so that's what you're saying, those could not be, I mean, they could be in any zone then, other than, what, the downtown district you're talking, or anything?
No, they can
Downtown
be in
already-
anything.
Downtown already allowed mobile homes.
Yeah.
It's mostly village,
Okay,
where they weren't allowed.
okay.
Yeah, so they can be anywhere now because the
So is
state's
it-
pushing. for it.
Also, I was gonna ask you, is there one particular area that is, you know, you see or that you think will be affected by this?
Only,
Not really.
only the areas that don't allow at this point.
But
Well-
are there any that don't allow it, that, you know, where people are, you think are looking to do mobile homes and things like that?
There was one across from, well, not far from 95 McGuire. There's a house that's been vacant there for years.
Okay.
No, the big white one?
Huh? No, not that one.
Oh, okay.
It's
Down-
before
down in
there,
Lon- down in
by the
Lon-
boat launch.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
Someone contacted me last year about that, and I said, well, no, you can't have a mobile home there.
No, they can't.
No, they can't. It's a small.
But I mean, it's like anything else, George, it's all driven by, are you gonna spend $110,000 on a lot, $80,000 on a lot and bring in a small mobile? Maybe, while then you can build your dream home, I don't know, but,
Yeah.
it's, once again, it's,
well, with the current market, I mean, mobile homes are selling, for, like you say, over 200,000 now anyway, so,
I know.
you know, it's crazy,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Alright, so I'm not understanding this, and so it seems like, it says the next one is changes by Ben, was this
Yeah,
something
the
that came in?
DECD wanted us to tweak some of our, because there's some contradiction in our old accessory dwelling section,
Mhm.
and they wanted us to kind of clean that up, so we got Ben working on that, our attorney.
Oh, okay, I was wondering who Ben was.
Well, he did the original.
I thought it
changes.
was, I thought it was, you know, somebody that came in
I thought it
before us
was,
that
yeah.
wanted some.
No, he did the original changes to for the LD 2003,
Gotcha,
and they they've been contacting us about things that they keep saying he's made mistakes in, and he's been telling them
Okay,
basically that he didn't. And here's why.
okay.
He also asked me, in that accessory dwelling section, we also allow off-site accessory dwellings.
Mhm.
He said he wanted to know if we still wanted that, because
Yes.
it's a contradiction.
It's not a contradiction. The reason it's in there is for everybody down on the lake that owns the back lot on the other side of the road. Because your accessory, your back lot, accessory, whatever, what's his name came in, Welch came in for doing
Oh, yeah,
all that other stuff. So it's gotta be within 200 feet of the primary
Right.
structure. So this was all set up for people that had a back lot on the camp roads that you wanted to put the garage over there or something.
yeah. I'll explain that, that's, I had no idea why it was put in there. 'Cause
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
something we
because
only
that,
do.
a lot of the people in the lakes, because obviously everyone bought the waterfront, the road was behind their house and
So
there's,
basically, we're talking Legendre Lane.
it was Legendre and Abrams and things of that. Actually, Abrams, no,
Abrams only had-
for,
Abrams only has a
Agassi
couple
owns-
of them,
yeah, but Agassi owns most of that stuff on the back lot there anyhow.
it's just the ones down,
Back down to
Dead
where they're gonna put the boat launch and it never went in, yeah.
no,
That was-
the other side. The other end is the only ones that have back lots.
Oh, over towards Agassi?
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, the other ones aren't back lots, they're actually built.
Part of the subdivision.
Yeah. All right,
Uh,
the other current code stuff there.
We have to, every time we have to update codes, we have to go to the town and say, here, we have to update it this year. We just wanted to say, update it to the current code.
And these are things that we can't opt out of.
Right.
Right. This is MUBEC.
Okay, so this is MUBEC, this isn't
Yeah.
like, okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering, George's pet peeve too is the sprinkler stuff. I mean, if that's not, if that becomes part of the building code, then regardless, we're gonna have to
We're
get it. But if we can opt out of anything that's
Optional.
optional,
It'll
I
never
would,
It'll
so,
never be part of the building code.
okay,
The state
so
will
the
be-
building code is building code regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
I mean, towns that have it now are towns that are requiring it above and beyond.
Right.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Colin, I'm assuming that's calling up a DEP or something,
Yeah, I
generate
talked to him
changes
about
in the
that, there
shoreline?
was a new, it was similar wording to the, if you have a lot where you can't put a shed. It's similar wording to that, placing generators. But he said right now it's just a guidance for,
Where you can't put a shed, or you mean, it's on a,
so we have a section in there in the shoreline that allows you to have a shed even though you can't meet setbacks. An
Okay.
8x8 shed,
It's an 8 by
basically.
8, yeah, so you store your gas
Right.
and you
It's-
store your lawn.
So the generator thing is similar to that. Because, you know, right now, I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna be the one that's gonna say, no, you can't have a generator in shoreland, even though you need oxygen.
Yeah.
and-
with the power outages we have today, it's like crazy.
I mean, I'm trying to get them, I'm requiring them to make sure that they're behind the primary,
Are we talking the fully automated ones, or are we talking?
yes,
Okay,
because they're going in. And
Mhm.
us trying to say no to someone that needs a generator is not something we're in the business for.
right,
And so the DEP has some guidance on how they allow this. And he says it's probably gonna go into the next update of, chapter 1000.
some of these people need a lot better things to worry their time about up in Augusta. And then this transient campground and general purpose, this was something I think Jeff
So
was
Jeff bought all that
talked about.
property behind him
from Dennis.
Dennis.
Was
He wants to
everyone
put-
familiar with this?
No.
No.
So, you know Jeff Moran's dirt,
Yeah, over
Dirt
there.
store.
Yep.
dirt store?
Yeah.
So behind him were cornfields, and Dennis Ferlin owned 110 something acres of land. It falls the, is that the little end of Chicago up back there?
Dennis had been in here 18 or 19,
Yeah, to do some,
something about camp, he wanted to do something with.
wanted to do like a
campgrounds as well.
bigger campground. Seems like what Jeff wants to do is build some off-grid yurts or something like that, so some, and use the existing skidder trails down there, so we can build a couple of these structures. I don't know how the wastewater would be taken care of, but that's something for a later thing. So he's just looking, like the other gentleman was, to have this as an allowed use within that, so.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's something that
Shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people that go to these off-grid weird
Oh, yeah.
things, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's, if you got the right land, it makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt.
In other words, transient just means
Well,
non-permanent?
Transient campgrounds are what's in other zones that allow campgrounds like Poland, Spring Campground and Ryan Pond Campground.
Yeah, they come in for the summer and then they,
Talking about transient people.
Right. Just checking.
I think that's what you were thinking, I know where you were from.
okay, the one that, I've talked to Scott and Sarah both about this, and I don't know if it's an issue of how we can write it in a certain way, but, the gentleman that wanted to come up in his farm and forest zone, he wanted to go to rural residential, cause he wanted to sell his big house, put a small house in on a smaller lot, no fault of his own, the lots got combined, blah, blah, blah. And his neighbor, I thought it was part of the book, and it turns out it's not part of the book, that there's no abutter notification on that when somebody's looking to do a change of allowed use within a zone. It's not like you're coming in with a new application for
Who would pay
something.
for that? So he just wanted to change the zone, right? Is that he has to do it because he
Butter
paid?
notifications are always paid.
It is always paid by the person that's doing that,
Was this the one that we just changed it from?
farm and
Farm
forest into
Forest or Residential 3.
3.
Got it.
But the question about doing this is, we've had this before, we've had a couple people that have been in rural residential that wanted to do, I don't remember if it was body work or automotive repair, one was up off Tiger Hill Road, one was down near us on Bailey Hill or
Bailey Hill,
Everett
yeah.
or something like that. So the question is, they're coming in saying, I'd like to be able to do this. Do you just inform the neighbors that are in that 500-foot setback, or within 500 feet of the property line? Or do you have to reach out to everybody that's in rural residential, because if it changes over here and somebody on the other side of town didn't know it happened, but now their neighbor can do something, they're gonna be,
That's gonna get expensive.
That's not the one we voted on?
Yeah, we voted on that, yeah.
well, we voted on that at town meeting, but we allowed that to change over,
Yeah.
that
But
one
somebody
lot
was
changed.
upset that they
Right.
didn't know.
But that was one lot, but if somebody, you
Well,
know,
how did they not know? Didn't we vote on that at the?
No,
poll?
yeah, he just didn't.
yeah, but he didn't get a butter notification, so when it came to the public hearing, he didn't get any notification that his neighbor was looking to change that lot into whatever, so he could take a 7 or 8 acre lot, which he could only have one house on, and put it into rural residential. So he could sell the big house and build on a 2 acre lot. So that's something I think that needs to be changed, because is it only in RP where that has to be notified?
A zoning change in shoreline zone, you have to notify.
It's only shoreline, so I know.
It's only the people that are affected. So if it was,
So I know it happened down on Max Pine Lane, because we took out something from RP and we put it in that, and I know that the abutters were notified about that. But take something over there that's in green, that abuts a village zone or a historic district or something, right? And they wanna take one lot out and put it into a different zone, that's one thing. Then you could just notify the abutters and say, he wants to take this out, just like the one that was up here. But if you wanna change an allowed use in that zone, that could affect everybody in that green zone or the village zone or the whatever, you know? So that's where it becomes a little different, is if it's an allowed use versus just a zoning change because of space and bulk standards. If you
Oh,
know
I
what I'm
see.
saying,
Okay.
you know, it's just,
so
it's.
do we only do it on rezoning or allowed uses?
Well, that's what I'm kinda bringing up to let people think of, because I'll show you something here.
We
I mean,
asked them to come in and,
yeah,
with a proposal, he never
Yeah.
did.
so, this here, that zone there,
Why
it
is
just,
there?
it just happened.
Mine's the same thing on North Raymond Road, so
Well, that's there because it's Empire Road.
Cheryl can do 2 acres.
Oh, is that Empire
Is that
Road?
the Pines?
I need 5.
Oh, I'm not looking at that one there, where's,
Look at North Raymond Road. Cheryl, like I said, Cheryl can do 2 acres, and she's a half mile from me, and I
I'm
have
looking
to
at
do
this
5.
one. No, I'm not looking at that.
Where John's talking about?
Well, yeah, John, you talking about down in here?
Yeah, up here,
Up
where the
above
long
there.
skinny ones are.
See,
All these
so,
ones?
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's, so I have to do 5 and Cheryl's 2/10 of a mile from me and she can do 2.
Mhm.
So like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is
I
it's,
think it was based on how that was split up at the time too.
that was a weird,
when they split it.
That was back in the eighties.
Yeah, because it was all farm and forest there.
Right, but
I know.
it's based on, I mean, you look at those lots, it's based on how it was developed, I think.
yeah, it was.
Like pencil lots.
And there wasn't a lot of,
Yeah,
there's not a
well,
lot
it's
of
skinny.
room to go to 5 acres there when they looked at it, so there was no point in putting it into.
That map won't even exist in 50 to 100 years.
No.
So
Where
it's,
coming to an
it's,
end.
so, once again, it's one of those things that
Because
if somebody's,
farmland won't exist in this town.
if somebody's looking to
Years from now.
change the zone, at a very minimum, I think abutters within 500 feet should.
Should be notified, yeah.
Now, the allowed use becomes a little stickier because,
That's where
You-
public hearings and, I mean, that's how it always used to be done, was public hearings and notifications.
Yeah.
Nobody's reading the paper anymore.
well,
That's the reason
we
why.
don't need to go down that road if we're doing everything by, referendum vote now versus having a public discussion at town meeting. Which, if we had an election on the one that got changed out of RP on Upper Rank Pond, that would never have gotten changed out because, but the gentleman that owned it came and spoke at town meeting, and the 150 people there at that day said, yeah, that makes sense, and voted it through, so. But I understand, and it's one of these things, talking to certain people in town that get very frustrated with the town, is, well, I don't check the webpage. It's unfortunate, it's become incumbent on yourself to just look at the town webpage once a week. But I understand some people don't do that and whatever, so they're just flabbergasted, when the hell did this change?
Well, I could see being frustrated if there was nothing, but,
Right.
I mean, if there's stuff out there, it's not up to us
So,
to spoon feed everybody of changes, like,
Right.
so
Well, I
so
mean-
are they stating that we did something in error?
No,
That's
no
not-
one's saying anything, I'm just saying
Oh,
if,
somebody was upset that he wasn't notified or didn't.
well, yeah,
know.
the neighbor was upset on the Cook one.
Okay.
Because he wasn't notified, but then he saw something about it, and then, because at the meeting, I had looked over at Sarah and said, well, we did about a notification, right? And she said, I don't remember honestly how she answered, but that gentleman went back and watched that and was under the impression that about a notification was given, and it wasn't, because it didn't have to be done.
But doesn't that come back to the GIS system, which is not up to date and not all abutters always get them?
Well, they
No,
have
no,
to get
no,
them
no,
obviously.
they, all the stuff that we do about our notification.
I know, but I often wonder,
No, sometimes we do get them back, and there's nothing we can
Right.
do about that, because we can only do this once a year.
or if there's a newer home that's now gone in,
Hmm.
I don't always see that on that list.
Well, and then again.
That's why I'm
That's assessing.
saying,
They refuse to, I'm not even gonna get into it, but
okay.
they don't update
So
Unless
there
it's-
is room for error
unless
in
it's April
terms of
1st.
Right.
some
Well,
people
it's-
not,
And then I do my updates in October, so there is a lapse there.
right?
So, but
So
yeah, that's
sometimes
something we
it takes 2 years to get something into GIS.
So that's something that the select board could get on the same thing, or,
It's, if you can throw some money at it, we can change that, but that's the problem, it's gonna cost money to.
to update.
I don't know, we have an assessor that we pay a certain dollar amount every single year to do our assessing, and guess what we have coming up? We have a reval coming up, huh? So how about if you wanna get the reval, you might wanna be a little more diligent about updating your stuff so it goes on the GIS. So once again, whether it's money or it's just
If we had a
a
different
carrot and a stick
software
or a
system,
big
for-
stick.
if we had a different software system for assessing, we could do weekly updates.
Yeah.
But that would also require that it's updated.
So is the problem the software, or is the problem somebody not using the software?
No, the problem is the software.
Problem is the software.
I'm the one that does, right now I do it once a year. It's a tedious, almost like it looks like something from DOS to try to get this update. And then I get that to Sebago Technics, who does our mapping for us. They send it out to the CAI to do the updates. But I'm taking that in October. They're sitting on a pile of deeds in October that's still, they don't have to put until April. So I'm not getting full.
They don't have to put them into April, cause that's when the new tax bill comes up?
any new structure.
I do it in October because that's when commitment is.
So that, just once again, that's just something to think about, because I mean, obviously somebody was upset about that, and I can understand, because I think it's important if your neighbor wants to change their zone, which then would, because it's not only changing the zone for space and bulk standards, at that time you change the zone, there's more allowed uses maybe in rural residential 3 than there is in farm and forest.
Right.
So I mean, I think if it's one lot, then notification said within 500 feet would be.
Well, that's what I'm saying, versus a change of use in the whole district.
Right. And I think
So,
that-
but I just, if
How
people
far
can
away
think,
did this
could
person
think
live?
about that, they were next door,
Next door.
the neighbor.
And they didn't get one?
Because it was a change of the zone, it's
Oh,
not,
because
you don't
of-
have to.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying, if they're changing
Yeah.
the zone on like one map, one
Yeah.
specific lot, then I think at least that should go out, but once again, when it's a change of the use in that zone, that could be in farm and forest, and you see how many, it's that whole green there, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that's where it becomes a little hard, because I mean, imagine the town sending out,
Yeah.
or, well, at that point, you probably wouldn't have it done, because the person is trying to change the allowed use in the zone. If it was in farm and forest, would say, holy, you know what, that's
I think if we have to go to
$10,000 of mail outs, you
if
know?
we have to go to more than 500 feet, then it's gonna have to be totally on the applicant
Mhm.
to prove that he gave out all those notifications.
Right,
It's just postcards now though, correct? For that, yeah.
But
That helps, but-
I think we would need to make the applicant. I mean,
Right.
I think in days past, that's what happened, the applicant had to send all these out and prove that they did it. We don't have the resources to.
Well, I think that's why they went to the postcards, it was, because it used to be like by certified mail or something like that.
And it was on the applicant to do
Yeah,
that.
exactly, exactly.
so anyhow, I was just, didn't wanna go down that rabbit hole, but we're down through that, just, people can think about that maybe. And once again, maybe no one's gonna come in and talk about that, but I just know the person last year was, Not
We
quite
asked-
happy on it.
We asked them to come in and told them what the deadline was. We told them we were working this month on it.
yeah, okay.
Do we have a next meeting, do we have another meeting in December? No?
No, we don't have a meeting in December,
Christmas Eve,
but
right?
Is it
drop
right?
dead for additional amendments is January 14th. February 11th is public hearing.
And that's still because of the statutory deadlines, it still
45
seems like, I mean, if we're
days.
voting, if we're not going to town meeting in April and we're going to vote in June,
The select board still has to look at it after that.
no, I understand, but they did on the April meetings, when we used to have town meetings, so it seems like we're still following it, like, we're following the statutory deadlines to get it on there in April,
Right.
but it's not going until the June. I know it's gotta go to the select board, and it's gotta be 60 days and postings, and
And it's
all this.
twice for the select board, so there's 2 meetings.
2 meetings with us too. Didn't we have, I thought we had 2 public
No,
hearings.
only one public hearing.
Or maybe it was the final public hearing, or maybe it was the public hearing, maybe the.
We have a
one
lot of
before.
discussions prior to that.
Right, maybe that's what I'm confusing on that, cause I know that that person came in on this, what I thought was the second meeting, but it was probably just the.
I think it was public hearing.
Yep,
So
okay.
our next meeting is the 14th? When's our next meeting?
No.
Well,
January, I know, how come that calendar's not over there?
Yeah. Our next meeting would be the 14th.
Is it 14th? Okay.
all right, so with that, any other things on board? Jim, you got anything?
Good.
John?
Good.
I'm good, George?
Good.
Good.
You good? Scott?
I'm good.
All right, just wishing everybody a happy, happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and,
Motion to adjourn?
stay dry.
Second?
All right, didn't come from the big dog. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
There you go. All those in favor? Somebody would say we didn't adjourn our meeting in.
Don't run away.
Exactly, so we gotta bring all this crap back up again.
Don't run away yet.